Was it important to the president that masks come off before the State of the Union? Is there a message that he hopes to send?
It had nothing to do with the timing around the State of the Union. He wanted to give the CDC the time to assess and make recommendations.
So it was an incredible coincidence. President Biden addresses Congress tomorrow with precious little in the ways of wins, and he gets to declare freedom from masks, a Supreme Court nominee. Expectations, of course, have been low for State of the Unions. We welcome in George Will, senior NewsNation contributor, Pulitzer Prize-winning politician. Does President Biden benefit because the expectations tomorrow are low?
Probably. President Biden has two of the two kinds of problems a president can have. One is policies. And policy is summed up by inflation at this point, which people are reminded of whenever they fill their gas tanks. There's not much you can do about that because you can't change inflation the way you can throw off a light switch. And then there's the other perception, which is there's something about the president who's not up to this. And once people decide that, I don't see what you can do.
Do you agree with the following statement? Joe Biden is mentally fit. I'm not asking you. We asked the American people. 46% agree, 53% disagree. That sums up the issue that there's something that they don't like. Is there a way to turn that around in a speech tomorrow?
I don't think so. There's always a way to make it worse. You can stumble verbally, you can stumble physically, and people are probably sort of watching him walk on eggshells as he speaks and as he goes out to Marine One, to the helicopter. So it's very difficult to change the narrative that is set, not in stone, but set somehow, with one night speech, particularly since I gather from what I've heard, it's written to take an hour. Now, that's not for allowing for all the jumping up and down and cheering on the two sides.
Yeah, Mike Allen was on earlier. He said well over an hour now because they're starting to add more and more.
Which means that the declining viewership will go like a ski jump.
Well, I don't know if that's good for you and me because we're going to be here both at the beginning and at the and at the end of it. We're going to get your thoughts a little bit more on the, quote, end of the pandemic that will be declared tomorrow when we come back. More with George Will after the break. Welcome back with George Will. President Biden's speech tomorrow. All right, two issues facing the country domestically. Inflation, 80% of Americans say they are very concerned. It now ranks number one, well above COVID. You think tomorrow he's almost certainly going to declare the end of COVID because now he doesn't have to wear a mask in the White House anymore. Congress doesn't either. Did the American people care if the president declares the end, or did they already decide it?
They've already declared the end on their own. They've quit wearing masks. There's been a kind of civil disobedience from coast to coast of 330 million people deciding we're done with this.
How much of we heard Washington State, Oregon, California, and New York schools all declare the end of the mask mandates in defiance of the teachers' unions? How much of that is a recognition of the political reality and the power of parents post Glenn Youngkin in Virginia?
Exactly. Virginia was a shot across every bow of every governor. And there's nothing, this is where government meets people, public schools, children. And there are two things will radicalize a middle-class country. One is public schools when they think they're abusing their children, and the other is inflation. Got them both now.
You got them both now. You got the fear of an overseas crisis. This poll really struck us in that right now, 13% of Americans who voted for Joe Biden, put him over the top, now say they would vote for Donald Trump. If you're Ron Klain at the White House tonight, what do you say to those 13% who are dealing with the inflation and the public schools issue?
Well, it's going to be curious. Listen tomorrow night to see if Joe Biden blames inflation on price gouging by big corporations. That is the sort of populist left-wing approach. Or he says, look, we have problems. It's always possible to treat the American people as adults. 1975, most presidents come out and say the State of the Union is splendid and I'm the reason why. 1975, Gerald Ford, we'd had a president resign, helicopters were lifting off the roofs of Saigon, stagflation was setting in the 70s. Gerald Ford came out, looked the American people in the eye and said the State of the Union is not good.
And he promptly lost re-election.
Barely, but he did treat the American people as adults. It's worth trying.
It is worth trying. It would be an unusual thing. I don't think anybody's done it since 1975 for obvious political reasons. You made a good point about what to listen to in terms of whether or not price gouging. I got 20 seconds. Anything that would surprise you if he said?
I think I'd be surprised if he said the State of the Union is fine, that everyone's misunderstanding the economy is really better than it seems. It's like, remember Mark Twain said Wagner's music is better than it sounds? And that's what he'd be, I think, in that position.
Well, it's a great point. It's a big change in the White House talking points, who were saying just a few months ago, don't worry about inflation, it's transitory. Mr. Will be with us all tomorrow night, as will my colleague Marnie Hughes, who is back in Chicago with another hour, a new hour of Prime at its new time of 8 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.